Hello there everybody, how's it going and how have you been? I am EuclideanSqd, and we're back here in Duel Links for a brand new character unlock event, this time for Dark Signer Carmine. Now, this unlock event works pretty similar to some of the older ones, where it's, as I call it, a token event. Basically, you participate in duels for these tokens. In this case, they're called Dark Signer Vestiges, but you know they're called different things depending on the character. But the main point is that you collect the tokens in duels, you spend them at the gate to duel against the event character, you rack up points, and at certain specific amounts of total points, you win prizes, one of which is actually unlocking the event character for your own use. And that's basically how the event works. As usual, I will be going over all of the rewards, like cumulative stuff you get at the EX card trader, all of that. But I just want to say that I know I am pretty late to covering this event. By the time this video goes up, there will only be like 2 or 3 days left. That was kind of outside of my control, really. I wanted to record like second day of the event, but all of the decks that I found on Duel Links meta were really expensive, and I was having a hard time figuring out how to make them cheaper. And then by the time I did that, I had some family come over and visit for the first half of the weekend, and I just couldn't really record while they were here, so oops, I guess. But regardless, we're here now, and I have figured out a cheaper farming deck. Now, like I mentioned, this was found over on the original recipe was found over on Duel Links Meta. A link will be in the description for anybody who wants to go and see it. It was one of the featured recipes, full of Red Eyes cards. I have managed to make it as cheap as I think possible. Now, the original recipe had something like 3 Red Eyes Black Dragons, and like 3 Red Eyes Fusions, and 3 Red Eyes Insight, and that's all well and good, but that's also really, really expensive, because Red Eyes Insights are hard to get, Red Eyes Fusion is difficult to get, and so on and so on. So what I have done is I've basically trimmed the deck down to the point where you only need to buy one of the Red Eyes structure decks from the shop. So specifically, the Red Eyes structure deck will have a Wyvern, a Retro Dragon, and 1 copy of a Fusion, as well as 1 copy of a Slash Dragon. And I basically restricted myself to building a deck around just that. So if you don't have enough money, or if you're really tight on gems, you only have to get one of that Red Eyes structure deck to build this particular deck. Now, as for the Insights, which are these cards right here, those are not part of the structure deck. Unfortunately, you will have to cash in an SR ticket to get them, but with the way that ranked duels are revamped, it should be a little bit easier getting your hands on an SR ticket. And additionally, I did check this out. If you are lucky enough to find an SR ticket through the Mission Circuit event that is going on right now, you can also redeem that for a Red Eyes Insight. So this is probably the trickiest card to get out of the entire deck. You can make do with one, although it's very, very difficult. I do recommend trying to get your hands on a second one if you can. But this is just a difficult card to get in general, but there's really nothing you can replace it with. Just specifically the way that its effect works. No other card in the game can do what Red Eyes Insight does. But the general strategy for this deck is to get your hands on Red Eyes Fusion as soon as physically possible, and use it to create Red Eyes Slash Dragon. The reason for this is that a lot of Carly's cards are really good at targeting and messing with your stuff. And Slash Dragon stops her from doing that so long as he has an equip spell that he can send away. Now, it is going to be a little bit finicky getting something onto Slash Dragon without actually damaging Carly and ruining your only effect damage bonus. And sorry, I have a sudden tickle in my nose. I need to deal with this. Hold on just a second. As I was saying before my nose decided to interrupt, actually getting an equip spell onto Slash Dragon without damaging Carly's life points can be a little bit difficult. Ideally, you'll want to just attack something of hers in defense mode, just to, you know, get the warrior type equipped to it so that you can use Slash Dragon's negating effect. But sometimes you might just have to go after something in attack mode just so that you can have the equip spell and you can start negating her stuff. Because otherwise, like there's been times where I've had Slash Dragon and she gets rid of it before I have a chance, because I try to play too cautiously and it doesn't have an equip spell to protect itself. Yeah, basically that's That's the gist of it. Create Slash Dragon as soon as possible. Get an equip spell so that you... well, equip spell. They're technically monsters still, but... Get it something so that you can start negating Carly's effects. And then basically just kind of bide your time until your deck runs out. You are more than likely going to deck out much faster than she does if you have 3 White Elephant's Gifts and 3 Good Goblin Housekeepings. This amount of draw power is almost way too much for a deck like this. But you shouldn't have to worry about Carly running out of cards before you do. If you happen to draw any warriors after you create Slash Dragon, you can give them up for White Elephant's Gift, and you don't have to use these particular ones. If you have any normal warrior monsters, you can use them as instead. These just happen to have the most attack points, so they can kind of stall for the longest amount of time against Carly's Fortune Ladies. But otherwise, they are easily replaceable. This Continuous Trap, Return of the Red Eyes, is also found in the Red Eyes Dragon structure deck. I'm blanking on what the structure deck's actual name is, but it's the Red Eyes structure deck. It's pretty easy to spot. And Return of the Red Eyes is actually pretty nice, because once you control Slash Dragon, you can use this card to revive your Red Eyes Black Dragon out of the graveyard. This will be very important for the last turn, specifically for the typical Vassal combo. But additionally, if you just need a normal monster, you can revive Red Eyes with Return of the Red Eyes, and then use the White Elephant's Gift on it, send it right back into the graveyard, and draw 2 cards. It's actually a pretty easy way to just get some extra draws when you're still midway through the duel. And then Wyvern and Red Eyes Retro Dragon are here to kind of help you get Slash Dragon back if Carly does manage to destroy it. Wyvern specifically works in that if you did not normal summon during the turn, you can banish it from your graveyard during the end phase to revive a Red Eyes monster from your graveyard. That does include Slash. I have tested it. You can revive Slash with it. So if Carly does manage to nuke it as soon as it appears, if you have Wyvern in the graveyard, you can get it back. It will be unprotected for that first turn, so hopefully it can survive. But alternatively, there is also Red Eyes Retro Dragon. And kind of similar to Wyvern in that this thing also can revive Slash Dragon. But specifically, if one of your level 7 or lower Red Eyes monsters is destroyed by either an opponent's attack or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you special summon Retro Dragon from your hand in defense mode, and then you can return that other Red Eyes to the field in the same position it was in. So, for example, if Carly attacks and destroys it, you use Retro Dragon special summons in defense mode, and then it special summons Slash Dragon back in attack mode. It's just another form of revival for Slash Dragon. Wyvern is actually also from a box as well as the structure deck, so if you happen to be lucky enough to actually find it a while ago, you can use 2 Wyverns instead of Retro Dragon. But I have 1 Wyvern and 1 Retro just because you're guaranteed 1 Wyvern from the structure deck at the very least, so you don't have to worry about having gotten a second copy through a box. And that's basically the purposes of all these cards. Final turn of the duel, you play Vassal, you use the 2 Union attacks and the Secret Pass to the treasures on it. Attack for over 10,000 damage so long as you have Slash Dragon and the regular Red Eyes Black Dragon. Pretty easy. It all honestly depends on how quickly you can find either Red Eyes Fusion or draw one of the 2 Red Eyes Insights. The sooner you get that, the better off you're going to be. You will also have to be a little bit selective on what you target with in terms of what Carly uses. I will try to cover as much as I can during the duel. It kind of depends on how finicky the decks want to be. But regardless, with that kind of admittedly scatterbrained feeling deck coverage out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the rewards. So she has, as usual, some kind of garbage normals. This is a level 3 light spellcaster, 950 attack, 1000 defense. Not that great. This is a level 5 spellcaster with 1200 attack and 1700 defense. It's probably even worse. They're garbage. I can't really put it any other way. But as for the rare cards, they're actually kind of interesting. So first off, we have Fortune Lady Rewind. You can target any number of your banished Fortune Lady monsters with different names, special summon them, but shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. You can only activate one Fortune Lady Rewind per turn. So this is probably the worst of the rares, but if you do happen to come across somebody who is using a banished deck, this can help. Some of the Fortune Ladies like to banish themselves as well. Not necessarily for their own, like, through their own effects, but so that their own effects can activate, and I'll explain that in a moment. But moving on, the next rare is Inherited Fortune. Activate during the turn a face-up Fortune Lady monster you control was destroyed, and you get to special summon up to 2 Fortune Lady monsters from your hand during your next standby phase. I actually really like this trap card specifically because there is no level limit, so if you do happen to have one of the higher level Fortune Ladies in your hand, you can go ahead and use this when one of your weaker ones gets destroyed, and you can immediately drop like both of the high level ones. And as you will see, this particular super rare is actually a pretty strong one, but we'll get to that in a moment. The final rare is a quick play spell called Time Passage. Increase the level of one face-up Fortune Lady monster you control by 3 until the end phase. You will understand why that is important once we get to the Fortune Ladies themselves, but just remember this card's effect. Now, moving into the super rares, these first two are... you could also have gotten them while with the Earthbound Immortal sort of raid battle event thing that they had a few months ago. It was against Callan's Earthbound Immortal. I'm not going to try and say the name just because I can't remember what it is, but it was the giant. But yeah, these are basically Earthbound Immortal supports as opposed to Fortune Lady supports. You will see why Carly also drops these when we get to that. But first off is Earthbound Wave, a counter trap card, where when your opponent activates a spell trap card while you control an Earthbound Immortal, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Pretty nice card, although Earthbound Immortals are fairly difficult to summon. But this counter trap card continuous trap card can kind of help with that. Altar of the Bound Deity. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can place one Earthbound Immortal counter on this card for each face-up defense position monster on the field. You can send this card with 4 or more Earthbound Immortal counters to the graveyard to special summon one Earthbound Immortal monster from your deck. So if you have something like, say, Windstorm of Itaquia, or if you happen to be playing with machines, there's Pulse Mines, something that can basically just en masse switch all of your opponent's monsters to defense mode, you can get the counters, the Earthbound Immortal counters on this thing pretty darn quickly, and hopefully special summon your Special summon your Immortal a bit faster as opposed to trying to draw it and then tribute summon for it. But stepping away from Earthbound Immortals and back to the Fortune Ladies, we have Fortune Lady Wind, a level 3 wind spellcaster with unknown attack and defense, because this card's attack and defense are equal to its level times 300, and during each of your standby phases, you can increase the level of this card by 1 to a max of 12. So basically, Fortune Lady Wind will start off as a 900-900, but each of your turns, she goes up by 300 points on both stats. That is fairly weak, but there are cards I'm sure that you can use to power her up. For example, if you use a Time Passage on her turn 1, she jumps up to an 1800 for your turn. You can also set Time Passage as a kind of trap. So if your opponent tries to attack Fortune Lady Wind, you can just suddenly give her a 900 point boost. But as for the rest of her effect, when this card is normal summoned, you can destroy a number of spell or trap cards your opponent controls equal to the number of face-up Fortune Lady monsters you control. Now, note that it does not say up to in her effect anywhere. It has to be an even amount. So if your opponent only has one spell and trap card, but you have 2 Fortune Ladies when you normal summon Wind, you can't destroy it. You have to get rid of exactly the same number. So that kind of bites, but at the same time, if you don't have any monsters, you can just play Wind and just destroy one of the spell trap cards for free otherwise. So, you know, a little bit of a balance there. You know, as for the final super rare, Fortune Lady Earth, this one is a bit more powerful. This is a level 6 Earth spellcaster, again with unknown attack and defense. However, Earth's effect says that her attack and defense are equal to her level times 400. And like Fortune Lady Wind, during each of your standby phases, her level goes up by 1 to a max of 12. So Earth starts off as a 2400, and if you use Time Passage to make her a level 9, that's suddenly a 3600 attack point spellcaster. And additionally, this is what I mentioned with Inherited Fortune. If you have 2 Earths in your hand, you can use Inherited Fortune and then just special summon 2 Earths. You get 2 2400 attack point monsters, and even better, because you special summon them during the standby phase, they both immediately level up to a level 7 monster, turn into 2800s, and then the rest of their effect goes off. When the level of this card increases, you do 400 damage to your opponent. So not only do you suddenly have 2 2800 attack point monsters, your opponent also just took 800 points of effect damage to the face, and there's pretty much nothing they could do about it. So I really like Fortune Lady Earth. I'm looking forward to building a Fortune Lady deck. But moving on to the ultra rare, we have Fortune Lady Light, a level 1 light spellcaster with unknown attack and defense. The weakest of the Fortune Ladies, her attack and defense are equal to her level times 200. As usual, during each of your standby phases, her level goes up by 1. So it starts off as a 200-200, powers up very, very slowly. However, when this card is removed from the field by a card effect, you can special summon any one Fortune Lady monster from your deck. So you could special summon Earth, you could special summon Wind, although she won't get her Spell Trap Destruction ability because Wind has to be normal summoned. And I haven't looked at Carly's level up rewards yet. I wanted to wait for this video to do that, but I would not be surprised if you get one of the other Fortune Ladies a couple of times by leveling her up. And as for removing them from the field by a card effect, there's plenty of stuff you can use. I wouldn't be surprised if you get some Fortune Lady support by leveling Carly up that can do that. There's that trap card, Interdimensional Matter Transporter, which just removes Lady Light from play for a turn. That counts. I don't know if destroying her for something counts. It might, but I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, that's all of Carly's rewards, so let's go ahead and have a duel. Hopefully this farming deck will cooperate. If you have it, definitely add, if you happen to have them lying around, definitely add more Red Eyes Fusions or Red Eyes Insights. Again, this is just the absolute bare minimum I think yields a decently viable farming deck against her. And we actually got Red Eyes Fusion turn 1. That is perfect. We have Retro Dragon to protect it just in case. This is actually an amazing, amazing starting hand. So, whenever you get Fusion, whether it be turn 1 or later on, you go ahead and just immediately use it. The way Red Eyes Fusion works, you basically get to use stuff in your hand or deck as fusion material, so it doesn't matter where the hell Red Eyes Black Dragon is. You just immediately fuse for it. Now, Red Eyes Fusion will keep you from summoning anything else during the rest of the turn. You can set, but I'm going to keep Retro Dragon in my hand just because that's where its effect works. I'm going to set Good Goblin Housekeeping in anticipation of drawing something that I don't need. And finally, I'm going to use Red Eyes Insight, where I can send a Red Eyes monster from my hand or deck to the graveyard, add a Red Eyes spell or trap card from my deck to my hand. I'm going to ditch Wyvern just to get it into the graveyard so I can revive Slash Dragon as well. So I've basically got 2 contingencies in case she destroys it. And I'll just go ahead and add Return of the Red Eyes to my hand. Might as well set that as well so I can start reviving the regular Red Eyes for White Elephant's Gifts and so on. And cool, she's not actually doing anything. Oh, speaking of, this is perfect. So, Return of the Red Eyes, just to read out the effect. If you control a Red Eyes monster, except for Red Eyes Black Chick, you can target any normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. If this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target a Red Eyes monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So that is also an emergency resummon in case Slash Dragon is destroyed. Carly can destroy your spell and trap cards, but I think she's basically only got like 1 card that can do that, and it's kind of iffy whether or not she'll use it. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the effect, revive Red Eyes. I could revive the Warrior as well, but it doesn't matter. Immediately use White Elephant's Gift, send the face-up non-effect monster I control to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. And we got another White Elephant's Gift, so I can do that next turn. But I'll go ahead and use Good Goblin Housekeeping, return Secret Pass to the deck. Oh, and look at that, I drew a normal monster, so I'll go ahead and normal summon him. Use White Elephant's Gift again. And this is what I was talking about with the insane draw power. Like, just like that, I burned through the top 5 cards of my deck. Now, Carly was kind enough to play something in defense mode, so I'll go ahead and attack it. Use Slash Dragon's effect, get an equipped spell so that we can start protecting our stuff in case she does anything. This monster, actually. This is something that I want to draw attention to. Later on in the duel, it's possible this thing can screw you up. Pass and the Witch of Fate. This thing can actually be pretty dangerous if it's on the field, sort of later on in a duel, and you don't have Slash Dragon yet, just because of its effect. When your opponent special summons a monster, you can remove from play 1 monster with unknown attack from your graveyard to destroy that special summon monster. Basically, if this thing is face up and Carly has any Fortune Ladies in the graveyard, if you try to special summon Slash Dragon, she will likely use Witch of Fate's effect to just immediately blow it up before it has a chance to do anything to protect itself. So if you ever see this thing, get rid of it. Just destroy it. And that's actually where these particular warriors come in handy, in that they also have 1800 attack points, just the same as Pass. So if it does happen to show up in attack mode, you can just crash one of your warriors into it without having to worry about damaging Carly's life points and ruining that extra bonus 1000 points of only doing effect damage. Yeah, so that's my recommendation. You can technically use any normal warrior you want, and the deck will run just as well. It's just for that rare scenario where this Witch of Fate is in the way and you need to get rid of it. I'm not gonna use Return of the Red Eyes just yet. I'm just gonna keep attacking. One thing you definitely want to do is always keep 1 spell trap zone open, just in case you don't have any way of getting rid of one of Slash Dragon's equipped spells. Save Wyvern in case Slash Dragon is ever destroyed. Sorry, I kind of mashed 2 thoughts there. Always leave a spell trap zone open, even if it would give Slash Dragon a second equipped spell to use to protect your cards. It's just not worth it, just in case Carly doesn't do anything before your cards run out, and then you don't have any space to use the Union attacks and Secret Pass to the treasures. I just don't think it's worth the risk. I've never had to use Slash Dragon's effect more than once per turn, so that doesn't really matter. And then as for Wyvern's effect, it will ask you constantly if you don't normal summon if you want to use its effect. I just keep saying no, again, just in case Carly does suddenly somehow use 2 destruction effects in 1 turn and destroy Slash Dragon. Just save Wyvern for if Slash Dragon ever goes into the graveyard. Now, she did summon her Fortune Lady Light in attack mode, which is telling me that one of those cards is meant to banish it so that she can special summon a Fortune Lady to the field. However, I'm not going to attack it, just in case the AI does something weird. Oh, that's actually... I think that's actually the only card she has that can mess with your spell and traps. So this is Bending Destiny. I'll actually cover it in a moment. I'm not going to attack Fortune Lady Light, just in case the AI is being weird and assumed it would play something to banish her, and then didn't, if that makes sense. Usually the AI won't do that, but I'm just worried about, the AI doing something very bizarre and then I ruin my farming attempt. But anyway. Bending Destiny is a counter trap card, where if the only face-up monsters you control are Fortune Lady monsters, you can activate this card, negate the activation of a spell or trap card, or the normal summon of a monster, and remove that card from play. The card removed from play by this effect is returned to the owner's hand during the end phase. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Slash Dragon can counter this thing, so if she ever uses it on your vassal's normal summoning, that might screw you up, but I've never seen her use it. She always seems to want to use it against White Elephant Gifts or Good Goblin Housekeepings or something like that. So this is the one card that has the potential to ruin you no matter how careful you were with this farming strategy, but she will often just use it at the first opportunity. And even then, it's not that big of a deal, since, even if she negates something like, say, Red Eye's Fusion or Red Eye's Insight, you'll just get the card back right at the end of the turn. Likewise, she could also use it against like a secret pass or a unit attack, but I would assume that if she has that thing set face down, she would likely use it against your Gravekeeper's Vassal first. But I don't know, because again, I've never been in that scenario where she's tried to use it, or it's always been gone by the time that I've tried to play Vassal. Okay, now that Fortune Lady Light is in defense mode, I feel okay attacking it. So, let's go ahead and try this again. Summon up Red Eyes. White Elephant Gift. There we go. Do not equip something. Nah. That's fine. Okay. A couple of things happened there. So, the trap card was Slip of Fortune. Activate only when your opponent's monster declares an attack targeting a monster. Negate the attack and remove from play the attack target until the next standby phase. That is one of the cards she will use to banish Fortune Lady Light to try and special summon another Fortune Lady. She does also have an interdimensional matter transporter, I believe. And the Fortune Lady that she just summoned is Fortune Lady Fire. A level 2 fire spellcaster. Unknown attack and defense. This card's attack and defense are equal to its level times 200, so starts off 400, 400. As usual, during each of your standby phases, increase the level of this card by 1. However, when this card is special summoned in face-up attack position by the effect of a Fortune Lady, destroy one face-up monster your opponent controls, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to the destroyed monster's attack. This is definitely something that you want to use Red Eyes / Dragon's effect to get rid of. So, just making sure that I had it selected. Use / Dragon's effect, send away the equip spell, negate Fortune Lady Fire's effect, and destroy it. I'm not going to bother setting either the Good Goblin Housekeepings. Not going to use Wyvern. I'm just going to go ahead and toss the Housekeepings. I don't have enough cards in the rest of my deck to use it. So she revived Lady Light and got to summon Dark. Okay. Are you doing anything else? Just setting some cards. Okay. Whew. Lots of cards to cover. So Fortune Lady Dark. She is the second most powerful Fortune Lady after Earth. So Dark is a level 5 Dark spellcaster, obviously. Card's attack and defense are equal to its level times 400, so it starts off 2000, 2000. During each of your standby phases, increase the level of this card by 1. When a face-up Fortune Lady monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can select and special summon one Fortune Lady monster from your graveyard. This thing can get very dangerous if she does happen to summon it before you get Slash Dragon out, and, you know, obviously Slash Dragon has the attack power to keep it at bay. If she ever gets Dark out early enough to start destroying your little level 4 warriors, she will start to swarm the board with other Fortune Ladies, and that can spiral out of control pretty quickly. That is part of why you always want to hope you get Red Eyes Fusion as soon as possible, because the faster you get that, the less you have to worry about Dark. Now, anyway, just gonna go ahead and attack Dark before she gets to be a problem. Use Slash Dragon's effect to recover his equipment so that I can negate something else again. Okay, sure, just go ahead and matter transport it away. I'll just go ahead and destroy Lady Light instead. The good thing about Carly banishing her Fortune Ladies is that that does reset their level back to the default. So, if an Earth or a Dark or something like that has been on the field for a few turns and it has racked up some points, if Carly ever needs to banish it to protect it from just being destroyed, its attack and defense will reset. Let's go ahead and toss away Goblin Housekeeping. So now Dark's going to go to a 2400, still too weak. Inherited Fortune goes off. She gets a special summon of Water. Water isn't too dangerous. It's a level 4 water spellcaster. Her attack and defense are equal to her level times 300. Level goes up by 1 every one of Carly's standby phases. When this card is special summoned while you control a face-up Fortune Lady monster, except for Water, you can draw 2 cards. That sounds like that would give her a lot of draw power, but she doesn't often get to use its effect, I've noticed. Typically when she's going to special summon something, it will either be a Dark or a Fire. just to try and get rid of your monsters. Usually she might get one of water's effect off her duel, but again, you don't really have to worry about its draw power. And just like that, my deck is empty, so we're going to go ahead and use Return of the Red Eyes, revive Red Eyes Black Dragon. And one thing that's important, which I want to mention just because she didn't actually play this card, you want your Slash Dragon to have one equipped card at the end of the duel if she happens to play a field spell called Future Visions, I think it's called. It's like the only field spell she has in her deck, so you'll know it when you see it. And that thing can be really annoying. Because basically what it does is whenever a monster is normal summoned, it is banished until its controller's next standby phase. And this deck doesn't really normal summon that often. However, if that is in play when you play Vassal, it will try to banish it until next turn, which, if you've waited for your deck to be empty, will basically be game over. So that's the important thing, is make sure Slash Dragon has an equipment if that field spell is in play before you play Vassal, so that way if the field spell tries to go off and banish Vassal, you can use Slash Dragon to counter it. Slash Dragon and Red Eyes will still have more than enough attack. Sorry, hold on. I had another itch in my nose. Slash Dragon and Red Eyes will have more than enough attack points without the equipped spell to put Vassal over 10,000 damage. I just wanted to call that out really quick just because she never happened to play that field spell. I think she's only got one copy, so if you want to try running some Spell Trap Destruction to get rid of it early, you can, but the whole reason you have Slash Dragon is for that very reason anyway. So, last turn, as usual, Secret Pass and Double Union attack onto Vassal. Vassal gets super powerful, you attack Carly directly for over 10,000 damage, and ideally you rake in the reward cards. There you go. Again, got really lucky with having Fusion in the early hand. If you draw an Insight before you draw Fusion, definitely use Red Eye's Insight to search for Red Eye's Fusion. Don't go for Return of Red Eyes first. Hey, my first Lady Light. Awesome. But yeah, that's basically the strategy in a nutshell. Good luck finding another one, because last time I checked, the only other really featured strategy on meta was a Ubel deck, and that's just packed full of ultra rares that are also event exclusive. So that was even worse in terms of making a cheap deck. Yeah. Anyway, that was a successful farm. So let's go ahead and talk about the other half of the event, Earthbound Immortal Asilapiscu. So basically, after every, I think, 10 wins in a duel that you have, Earthbound Immortal Asilapiscu will spawn, which it's basically just Carly under a different name. But this is a turbo duel. And this works kind of like a mini version of the Earthbound Immortal raid. Again, I'm still blanking on the giant's name. I'll look it up later. But basically, when it spawns, it will have a whole bunch of life points. And damage you deal during the course of the duel will carry over to the next time you duel it. The first duel will be free. I believe every duel afterwards will cost you a few vestiges. I don't know the exact amount. But the basic idea is that this is a good opportunity to win a bunch of rewards, because when you do finally defeat Asilapiscu, you get a guaranteed 8,000 duel assessment points. So that's not only just 8 duel rewards, which is, 8 chances for her to drop a card. That's also 8,000 times a multiplier going into your cumulative score for the event. Now, as for Asilapiscu, I don't really have a farming deck. I just made this, where is it? I just kind of slapped together this Red Dragon Archfiend Synchro deck sort of idea. It works okay. I'm sure there's probably better decks that can be used, but I want to at least show off the Asilapiscu. I think I mentioned this as well. I don't know, this detail might have slipped my mind, but this is actually a turbo duel. So you get the turbo duel sort of bonus abilities, I should say. Basically, At the start of each turn, both players gain a speed counter. Whenever you normal summon a monster, you get 2 speed counters. I think when you synchro summon, you get 4 or something. But you can also then cash out your speed counters to use these effects. Oh yeah, here we go. So at the beginning of each standby phase, both players get 1 speed counter. When you normal summon a monster, you get 2. Special summons and flip summons don't count. When you synchro summon a monster, you get 3, but when a monster you control is destroyed, you lose 1. You can remove 4 speed counters to free summon a tuner from your hand. Basically, a special summon that doesn't count is a special summon, I believe. If you pay 6, you can draw a card. If you remove 8, all monsters you control gain 1,000 attack points. If you remove 10, you double the attack of the monsters you control until the end phase of this turn. I think for... oh, that's what it was. I am probably going to mispronounce this thing's name horribly, like I'm probably mispronouncing a Silipiscu. But Count's Earthbound Immortal, Kokapakapu, I believe it was. I think the remove 10 description is incorrect. I think this only applies to synchro monsters. I'm not 100% sure about that. Maybe I was just kind of, misinterpreting how things were working back with the Kokapakapu raid, but I don't know. Maybe it's been fixed. Maybe it was a bug. Maybe it was an error in the description. I don't know. But this effect might act a little wonky, just as a warning. Now, as for this deck that I threw together, the whole idea is to just special synchro summon for Red Dragon, Archfiend, and other synchro monsters as soon as possible. In this particular case, I have Cyber Dragon, which is just special summon because I didn't have any monsters, and Carly had one. Then I went ahead and played my level 3 tuner. So basically, Red Dragon Archfiend turn 1, and I'm probably going to immediately start mopping the floor with her because the other stuff in my hand all have 2,000 attack points. And I'm not going to go ahead and use... I'm not going to use the EX skill just yet. I'm just going to go ahead and attack that thing. You'll notice that her life points are at a bit of a weird amount. As people on your friends list also beat a Silipiscu, they will sort of do chip damage to yours as well, which just adds up and then applies the next time a Silipiscu happens to spawn for you. So that's why she's at 3,314, aside from the attack that I did. You know what? Yeah, let's try out the double the attack. Let's see if it works. Yeah, see, it only doubled my synchro's attack. So I just think the description's wrong. But anyway. Yeah, so far Silipiscu has not been that difficult. I'm only at level 30 just because I haven't really played the effect or played in the event that much. It seems to go up by 10 every duel, so the next time it spawns it's probably going to show up at 40. Or every time I beat it, it's gone up by 10 levels. So now next time it shows up, it's probably going to be a level 40 and then 50 and so on. And it will likely get harder as it goes. But again, damage you deal will carry over. So if you need to, just make a deck that's really good at dealing out effect damage and just keep doing it over and over again until you eventually burn it out. But yeah, I just wanted to show that off really quick just because that is a neat little part of the event that actually only unlocked like a day or two ago. So to be fair, if I had recorded this video when I originally wanted, I wouldn't have been able to show that. Now, moving on, let's go ahead and take a look at the card trader. Oh yeah, there was a tag duel tournament a couple of weeks ago. I didn't make a video on it, just one because it was happening during finals, during my courses, so that took priority. And by the time I was done, there was only a few days left in the event, and I just didn't really want to make a video for the 2 new cards that were introduced. I just didn't think it was worth it. Anyway, so for the EX card trader, you can get this Winged Sage Falcos, which is a level 4 winged beast with 1700 attack, 1200 defense. When this card destroys an opponent's face-up attack position monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can choose to place that monster on top of their deck instead. Interesting effect. Not entirely sure why it's here, other than the fact that it's a winged beast, and I believe a Silipiscu counts as a winged beast. But moving on, you can also buy a copy of Fortune Lady Earth and Fortune Lady Wind. Note that you cannot get a copy of Fortune Lady Light. You can also buy a copy of Earthbound Wave, Altar of the Bound Deity, a previously event-exclusive card, Langling, level 3 Dark Dragon, 1500 attack, 0 defense. It is a union monster that once per turn you can target a face-up monster you control and equip it to the target, or special summon it back to the field as a monster. The original attack of a monster equipped with this card becomes 1,000, and it can make a second attack during each battle phase. And if the equipped monster would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you destroy Ling Ling instead. This thing is very, very good in Cyberdark decks. It's a dragon. It actually boosts stuff like Cyberdark Horn and Keel's attack power up higher than what it normally is, because they normally have 800 attack. This thing makes it 1,000. And they still get the whole double attack thing. So if you want to make a Cyberdark deck, definitely grab a copy of this. It's really good. And then there's also Time Passage, Fortune Lady Rewind. No Inherited Fortune, actually, which is also interesting, but it's a rare, so you should get it pretty easily. Mist Valley Watcher, level 4 Wind Spellcaster, normal monster, 1500 attack, 1900 defense. Rock from the Valley of Haze, level 6 Winged Beast, 2400 attack, 1400 defense. When this card is sent it directly from your hand to the graveyard, add it to the deck and shuffle it. Pretty interesting cards all around, to be completely honest. Just in terms of, they not what I would have expected to be available from the card trader. Decently good. Well, Valley of Haze isn't that great, but I mean, 1900 defense is not bad. And then the garbage normals, and the typical, you can trade the EX gems for gold or booster items if you'd rather. Yeah, that's the card trader. Taking a look at the cumulative rewards. Go all the way back up. So you start off with the usual assortment of gems and rare jewels. The first card you will get is at 120,000 points. It's Fortune Lady Rewind. Excuse me. At 280,000 points, you unlock Carly. At 450,000 points, you get the card sleeves, which look pretty cool. At 700,000 points, you get an Earth. Interesting that Fortune Lady Wind is given out at a higher point total than Earth. Well, to be fair, Spell Trap Destruction is a really good effect. At 1.1 million, you get this card mat, or a game mat, whatever. 1.7 million, you get a copy of Wind. At 2.6 million, you get a copy of Light. At 3.5 million, you get this icon. You will understand what this means if you have actually watched the first season of the 5Ds anime. I'm not going to explain it because my throat is starting to get a little dry and I have other stuff to do. And at 4.5 million, you get the title for basically completing the entire event. So, with all that boring stuff out of the way, and 43 minutes in, let's finally go ahead and take a look at Carly. So, in her starter deck, you actually get Earthbound Immortal Asilipiscu, and that's why Carly has those card rewards that are related to the Earthbound Immortals. Because you get another one. Well, this could be your first one if you missed the Kokopakapu event, but Asilipiscu is kind of interesting. Level 10 Dark Winged Beast, 2500 attack and defense. There can only be one Earthbound Immortal monster on the field, and if there is no face-up field spell card on the field, destroy this card. That is not optional. As soon as there is no field spell present, it's gone. So keep that in mind when you are building your deck. Protect your field spells. Additionally, your opponent cannot target this card for attacks, and there is no effect saying that they can attack around it. So basically, while you have an Earthbound Immortal, you can't really be attacked unless they have an effect that says it can attack directly. Additionally, Asilipiscu can attack your opponent directly, so that as a 2500 attack point monster, they can just ignore all of their monsters and attack directly. And finally, when this face-up card leaves the field, except by its own effect, so basically as long as it is not destroying itself because there's no field spell, you can destroy as many face-up monsters your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, you inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each one that was destroyed. So Asilipiscu is a very, very powerful card, but much like the other Earthbound Immortals, it does have some serious drawbacks, primarily being that under normal conditions you will need to tribute 2 monsters to summon it, and if you ever lose your field spell for any reason, it immediately self-destructs and goes away. That said, though, nothing saying that you can't special summon it. There is Altar of the Bound Deity, obviously. There are other cards you can use to special summon it, I am sure. So, I'm sure there's probably some ways around it, but still. The Earthbound Immortals are generally incredibly powerful monsters, but they have that huge glaring flaw with the field spells to kind of counterbalance. And the rest of your deck is just kind of usual starter deck garbage. You are given a field spell just so that you can play a Silipiscu if you need to. But honestly, nothing to write home about. So, let's take a look at our level ups. So at level 3 you get a Fortune Lady Water, like I thought. Level 4 you get Fortune Booster, which, if I can find it in this list, Fortune Booster. At the beginning of your turn, increase the level of all Fortune Lady monsters you control by 1. That's actually pretty damn powerful. I think that doesn't sound like a skill that you'd have to manually activate either. It sounds like it's just something that goes off naturally, so basically all of your Fortune Ladies level up by 2 instead of 1 while you have this skill equipped. That's actually pretty damn powerful, especially if you have a bunch of Earths, for example, because that's suddenly they're getting 800 attack points stronger every turn. And each one is doing 800 points of damage because they're technically leveling up twice. Once through the skill, once through their own effect. At least I assume that's how it works. Anyway. Level 7, you get one of those Witch of Fates that I mentioned. At level 10, you get Enlightenment. You cannot summon... It's a regular trap card. You cannot summon the turn you activate this card. Activate at the end of the damage step. If a spellcaster type monster you control attacked and destroyed an opponent's monster by battle, that monster can attack again immediately. Okay. Very powerful. Doesn't have to work with just Fortune Ladies. You can use that in any spellcaster decks. That's going to be fairly terrifying. I foresee that comboing incredibly well with the Silent Magician deck. But, okay. Moving on, we have another Fortune Lady Water at level 11. At 13, we get Seal of the Immortal, which... I believe Kellen also has that. That's the... yeah. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, Earthbound Immortal monsters cannot be destroyed by their own effects. This skill can only be used once per duel. So basically, if you need to emergency summon your Earthbound Immortal, or if you just don't want to deal with a field spell and you want your Immortal to just be kind of your you know, all or nothing sort of gambit, you can use Seal of the Immortal to keep it from destroying itself before you summon it. Like you use Seal of the Immortal and then summon Earthbound Immortal and it will stay around. Level 14, you get another Witch of Fate. Level 16 is another Enlightenment. Level 18, oh yes, Slip of Fortune. I like this card just because, again, this is another trap card that doesn't have to work with just Fortune Ladies. You can use this in any deck you want to protect one of your monsters. Very cool trap card. I like that a lot. Level 20, we get the skill Time Passage, which... select one Fortune Lady monster you control. Its level is increased by 3 until the end of the turn. The skill can only be used once per turn and twice per duel. Okay, so it's basically a skill version of the Time Passage Quick Play spell. Fair enough. Level 21, we get our third Fortune Lady Water. Level 23, we get our third Enlightenment. Level 25, we get the third Witch of Fate. Level 30, we get our second Slip of Fortune. At 33, we get a copy of Bending Destiny. Very cool. And at 35, we get Fortune Vision, a continuous spell card. When this card is activated, you can add one Fortune Lady card from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, if a card you control is banished by card effect, except during the damage step, you can activate this effect. This turn, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects, even if this card leaves the field. Alright, so basically you can banish one of your own Fortune Ladies and then use this thing to say none of my monsters can be destroyed by card effects. That's pretty cool. Once per turn, if a card your opponent controls is banished by card effect, you can make the next battle damage you take this turn become 0, even if this card leaves the field. That one's a little bit trickier just because cards that banish your opponent's stuff are a little bit harder to come by. Plus it's also like past 1 in the morning, and I can't really think of what that might be, but this is an interesting continuous spell. Probably only useful in certain situations, but interesting effect all the same. So let's go ahead and look at the rest of her skills. So Immortal Offerings, another skill shared by Callan. You can reveal 1 to 3 Earthbound Immortal monsters in your hand, then play an equal number of ceremonial tokens in defensive position. During the turn you use the skill, you cannot normal or special summon any monsters except for Earthbound Immortals. The skill can only be used once per duel. This is the ceremonial token. It has no attack and defense. It's literally just to be used to be tributed for Earthbound Immortals. You can't even synchro summon with them or anything like that. Immortal Charity can be used if you control an Earthbound Immortal monster, set an Earthbound Whirlwind, Earthbound Wave, or Roar of the Earthbound from outside of your deck. So Earthbound Wave is that counter trap card that you can get as a dual reward. Earthbound Whirlwind is a spell. If you control an Earthbound Immortal monster, just destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. Very powerful. Whew. And Roar of the Earthbound is a continuous trap. Once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, target the attacking monster, destroy that target, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the destroyed monster's attack power. You must control an Earthbound Immortal monster with attack higher than the attack of the attacking monster to activate and resolve this effect. So obviously your opponent probably isn't going to attack while they see this thing face up on the field, but if you have it set, you can use it as a pretty powerful booby trap. You know, you set something weak, hopefully your opponent takes the bait and goes after it, and then you just use this, do a whole bunch of damage, and then ideally attack directly on the next turn for the win. Continuing, Future Fortune. Let's see, as long as you control 2 or more Fortune Lady monsters, you can view the top card of both players' decks. Oh. That's kind of a cool skill. Fortune Overclock. Select 1 Fortune Lady monster you control. That monster's level becomes equal to the current turn count, maximum of 12. At the end of the turn, the monster's level becomes equal to its original level. Skill can only be used once per duel. Pardon me. Very cool. Very cool. Obviously, the longer the duel goes, the better it gets, but most of the meta decks now seem to be pretty good at ending the duel pretty quickly, so... Fortune Telling. Select 1 Fortune Lady monster you control and excavate the top card of your deck. If the excavated card is a monster, the selected Fortune Lady monster's level increases by the level of the excavated monster. Then return the excavated card to the top of your deck. This skill can only be used once per turn and twice per duel. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. If you happen to have your Fortune Ladies, like, just a pure Fortune Lady deck, you could boost it by like 2 or 3 or whatever. And that's actually just a permanent level increase, too. So unlike stuff like Overclock, for example, or Time Passage, which go away at the end of the turn, it's just a straight boost. That's pretty cool. Draw Pass, Draw Dark, Draw Sense Dark. We looked at Fortune Booster, yeah. Level Augmentation. A bunch of 5e characters get this. Reveal 1 monster in your hand and select a monster on your side of the field. The selected monster's level increases by the level of the monster you revealed. This skill can only be used once per duel. This is meant to help you with synchro summoning if you need to. Power of Dark. Begin the duel with the field spell Yami activated. Restart. Very nice. Unfortunately, this is just a legendary duelist drop, so good luck getting it. And then we looked at Silly the Immortal and Time Passage. So yeah. Alright, Carly's got quite a few cards. I'm actually liking her rewards a lot more than Callan's. They just seem to be a lot just better. Like, the Fortune Lady seemed to work with the reward cards from the event a lot better. The traps can be used in more situations. It's just, she just seems to have better level up rewards, at least in my opinion. Just, like, if we look at Callan, like, I mean, this thing's not great. Infernity Dwarf, it can do piercing if you have no cards in your hand, but it has 800 attack. Well, Callan's got some more cards for Earthbound, so... I still think Carly's a little bit better overall. I don't want to use you right now. I want to start leveling up Carly. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything for the Carmine unlock event. Took about an hour to cover it all. Probably rambled a little bit because I'm a bit out of practice and I'm a bit tired, but yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had a great time, and I hope you all have a great day. And I will see you all in the next one.